this is going to be my analysis of the run. So this first part, well, it's a live analysis, so I didn't really write a script for this. And this first part will be about all the preparations that I put into it, like all the little things that kind of make up the entire run in behind the scenes, basically. Yeah, this is a behind the scenes video of the entire run and what I was considering about it. Okay, so let's just get into it. First of all, the party has to have two anemo characters for the elemental resonance. That way you will get, as you can see, a decreased stamina consumption by 15%, increased movement. That probably isn't actually real, at least when it comes to gliding. I can't confirm or deny it, but I think this only applies to movement speed that is like sprinting, walking, and that's it, I think. I'm not too sure though, but it's nice to have anyways. So if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, that's not really changing anything. And it also shortens the skill cooldown by 5%, which is nice, I guess. If it was like any bigger, it would be actually noticeable. But since we'll be using a character that will have a skill we'll be using very often, this is just like a nice little bonus. I don't know how much it affected anything really, and if it works at all, but yeah, it's good, it's good. So now, since we are on the topic of team comp, let's go over to all the passive talents that we will need during this entire glide. Actually, that's it. Yeah, these are all the passive talents that are related to gliding. Yeah. So it's these two from Zhang Yun and Auroran, which are completely identical, and these three from Amber, Kale, and Venti, and they are also completely identical. So yeah, if you want to go for the lowest cost team, then probably just Auroran and Kale, because you get Kale from Abyss, if I remember correctly, or like an event. I don't remember, but you get her for free anyways, and Amber you get like at the beginning of the game, so it's even easier to get. Yeah, so Auroran or Zhang Yun are required, but like Auroran is just much easier to get, in my opinion at least. Even though, 4 stars, 5 stars, who knows really. And then on the topic of characters that I will be using, here are all the skills that I consider to be gliding related. At least if you go to the wiki and go to the gliding section, these are all the skills that will be shown to you as those that can be used while gliding or falling or like in air, in mid-air basically. And actually, as you can see, Kazuha and Zhao do actually work well, like there's no problems with them, but Gaming, however you say his name, I think it's Gaming, but whatever, Gaming's funnier. His skill actually doesn't work when you're gliding at all, doesn't work when you're falling, doesn't work when you're in midair after closing your glider. The only time it does work is when you jump, and in that short period you can press the skill and it will activate. So it's it shouldn't be on the gliding part of the wiki, so it's a bit weird that it's there. And these are the skills that I already said I consider gliding related, because, well, while you're gliding in any region, you can actually use them, and it doesn't really interrupt the gliding, it just prolongs it, kind of, if that makes sense. And why am I specifying this? Well, because there are a bunch of skills, there are a bunch of skills that I actually consider to not be gliding related, even though you technically can use them to be suspended in the air. What do I mean by this? Well, here they are. Actually, it's really funny. If you look at any of these skills, like here's Aoife. Oh, actually, Aoife doesn't really have that big of a skill. That's fine. But if you look like Chaska and Mavuika and then compare them to Zhao, it's really comical, the difference between them. Anyways, what I'm saying is that none of these skills are actually gliding, in my opinion, at least. If you disagree, that's fine, because this is just me analyzing it how I see it. You're free to disagree. And actually, why I don't consider them to be gliding or gliding related is because you can't actually use them while gliding. Now, I know what you'll say, but you clearly can. There's a whole mechanic of this. And to counteract that, I will say that Night Soul Transmission isn't actually gliding, because to use Night Soul Transmission, first of all, you have to be in Natlan, which is a problem I will be talking about later when analyzing all of the important events in the full run, but right now that doesn't really matter. So, to use it, you have to be in Natlan, and you have to switch characters actively, which for me personally, I think you stop gliding specifically, not for like a short burst of like height or length, or distance rather, but you completely stop gliding and start flying instead, which is a completely different thing in my eyes. You may not see it this way, and that's completely fine, but yeah, I just don't think that's the same. The only skill that I sort of consider to be similar to gliding is Oraran, again the goat. He's the 4-star from this section, and now he appears again. And he kind of, I guess, kind of works as a gliding related skill, but I really don't think so. Because again, it only works, his skill only works in Natlan, and I will be going over why that's a problem later when analyzing the full run. Well, not the full run, but more so just the small events, because the full run is very, very boring. Just like, it's around 25, 23 minutes of interesting things, or rather uninteresting things, and like 4 minutes of actually something happening. Anyways, that's not the point. Now that I went over why I don't really think these are legitimate things for gliding, specifically gliding, I just want to say that I am actually, like, if you're interested, just write a comment below, because I experimented a little bit with actually flying, not gliding, specifically flying, and found out something pretty interesting. So if you want me to make a video about flying specifically, then just shoot a comment below, and for it, I will actually need someone who has both Mavuika and Chaska, or, well, actually, any character with a Night Soul Burst, that would be nice. But specifically Mavuika and Chaska, because from what I heard, they have like an infinite chain of skills that allow them to fly forever while in Natlan, and I don't have either of those characters, so to make a more accurate analysis of flying, I would need someone who has them. So my UUID is all over the like original footage. It's all over this video too, if you look at the analysis. So if you want to help with this video, just shoot me a message and let's like organize something. I am in the Europe server, and the nickname is also, I think, in the video a bunch. Yeah, okay. So next I will go over to weapon-specific buffs. This is Flower Wreathed Feathers, a bow that, I don't know, I think it has like a very heavy Chaska aesthetic, and I think it's even meant to be used for her, and it decreases gliding stamina consumption by 15%. So just a pretty like straight up buff to your gliding. But here you can see that I wrote that it doesn't actually work. This is partially a lie. Like, I guess it could be considered a lie, but not really, because it doesn't work for the run specifically. Because from my test, like from my singular test that I did, it only works on the equipping character. And no bow user has skills that are gliding related. So Chaska, as I already said, I consider her skill more flying than it is gliding. So I just like don't consider her to be like a part of the gliding team anyways. And also this buff doesn't scale with Ascension. So it's just like a cool thing, but it doesn't provide a team-wide buff. However, I didn't test it too much. If it does provide a team-wide buff, I'll say that I actually had it on Amber, because I used Amber in my like entire run. So if it works, then I actually employed it. If it doesn't, then again, no harm, no foul, really. It's the same as, who was it? I don't remember. Yeah, it's the same as this, where it increases movement speed by 10%. So if it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, whatever. I have it equipped anyways, so it kind of like doesn't really mean anything. Okay, so next on we have stamina buff food. It's actually pretty interesting, because if you look at my buff bar during the entire run, I only have this buff. Well, first of all, I forgot to activate it in the beginning, but then I remembered and activated it, but it only lasts for 900 seconds, which is just 15 minutes of the run, and like, who really cares? Because if you look at the end of the run, I'm actually still not losing stamina the entire time, so this buff isn't really that important. You can cook up a bunch of them because they're very easy to cook, especially if you've been playing for like any sizable amount of time. So I had it on, I ran out because I'll actually specify why I ran out later. Yeah. And lastly, and I would say most importantly, I will be using these three gadgets: the Red Feather Fan, the Wind-Powered Wind Generator, and Wind Catcher. You can see here the requirements: Reputation level 5 in Inazuma, Reputation level 5 in Fontaine, and Reputation level 3 in Mondstadt. And if we look a little bit down, we'll see this. Because, in my opinion, the Red Feather Fan and Wind Catcher are both very, very mid. Because they don't really matter, in my opinion. Like, you can say what you want, but I don't think they're that impactful, because this one only increases your gliding movement speed by 30% for 30 seconds, and what's the funniest thing is that it doesn't work in the air. Like the perfect gliding, the perfect gliding device, gadget, whatever, and it doesn't work in the air. You can only use it on the ground and nowhere else. Yeah. The same goes for Windcatcher. It's completely meh, it's just whatever. You can use it to gain about a venti skill-sized air current that goes upwards on the ground and only on the ground, and that's it. It's also very boring to like charge because it, unlike Wind-Powered Wind Generator and Red Feather Fan, is actually a limited use gadget. Not really limited, but yeah. To charge it, you have to go to Mondstadt and collect an Amagrana, and it will charge by 1 for every Animagrana you collect. So it's just like you have to remember where they even are, then go collect them and all that, and it's really boring. Like, genuinely, I don't think it matters at all. And here is the absolute goat of the run. Without it, it wouldn't be possible, because this gadget is absolutely insane, especially considering they get it in Fontaine and not Mondstadt, which just doesn't make sense to me, because, you know, this is a pretty innocuous like description. You wouldn't think really that much about it, but first of all, here is the golden line that this gadget doesn't have. It can only be activated while gliding. Oh my god, it's amazing. Like, it's the best artifact of them all. Not artifact, gadget, again. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it doesn't actually say the most important thing about it in this description, because what it actually does, and why it's actually important for this run, is that it restores a pretty sizable chunk of your stamina when you're like in the current for the entire duration. That's why in the full run you'll see me stop every time I activate it, because if you just use it, gain the height, the like miserable amount of height that you gain from it, you won't actually get the stamina back. But if you stay in the wind current for the entire duration, you will regain an insane amount of stamina for like all the stamina reduction buffs that we have. So basically, every time you use it, you restore your stamina back up to full. And it doesn't say it here, but the cooldown is 20 seconds, and Kazuha's skill cooldown is 6 seconds. So if you want to use it in tandem, actually, I'll talk about this a bit later, and when a bit later, actually, this a bit later, the full gliding action combo. Yeah, so the actions I will be taking are the Red Feather Fan first, then the Wind Catcher. So we gain a 30% speed buff for gliding for 30 seconds, sure, whatever. Then we activate the Wind Catcher for the little like air current that will bump you up at the beginning of your flight. That's it, because you can't use it in midair. God, I hate this. Whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, so you do these things, and then when you're in the air, you just activate the Wind-Powered Wind Generator, and then Kazuha skill Kazuha skill 3 times in a row. And by the time you do this, the wind power generator will be up again, basically, yeah. Wait a second. So, something like this. I don't draw with my mouse, I'm sorry. I draw with a graphic tablet. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, for this, you will need this, and you will have your stamina back every single time you do this. And stamina basically becomes a non-problem for the rest of the run. The only problem for this run is height, and from my knowledge, the highest point you can glide from is the very top of Tonatiuh, which is Ochkonatlan specific area. It's a quest area that you can reach, and you can stay there actually and teleport almost to the very top, and then use some characters to just reach the top entirely, which is actually where the analysis becomes a bit more hands-on, I guess, because we will be analyzing the video. Oh, spoilers, but don't look at that. This is the team, not really, but this is like who I will use for. Actually, I turn down a bit. I know. Yep. Yeah, this is the team. It's Kazuha, Varka, or literally any other anime-related character I pick. For the entire run, I'll pick Xiao, as you'll see, but right now I'll need Varka because it's just easier to get to the top of Tonatiuh with him. Yeah. Here I should just show off the resonance. Yep, pretty much. And after that, yeah, if you look in the top right, let me go back a little bit. Yeah, if you look on the right, the final party is Kazuha, Xiao, Amber, and Auroran. And I'm standing on top of Tonatiuh. Oh, wait, actually, did I not include? Oh, I didn't include the climb. You can see it in like on Reddit. Yeah, if you came here from Reddit, and you most likely did, yeah, you can see it there. I'll leave a link in the description, anyways. So yeah. It's not really interesting. It's sped up and whatever. It's just nothing. I can show it off at the end of the video if like anyone's interested, or release a separate video how to get to the top of Tonatiuh. Like whatever. It doesn't matter. So here you will see the beginning of the run. I will activate the Windcatcher for the burst, then the fan, then I'll equip the wind-powered wind glider generator, and yeah, that's pretty much the rotation for the rest of the run. Here's Kazuha, here's Auroran's like Night Soul buff that actually works, but I'll get into details why it's not that important later. And actually, I think I closed the video on accident. Let me just go and see. Yep, full glide. Here it is. And just here is how the rotation looks like in its entirety. Let's just skip ahead a little bit. Yep, here it goes. Yep. So you use the gadget, you stay in the current, and you gain all your stamina back, and you use Kazuha's skill a bunch. Yep, that's pretty much just it. So let's move on with the analysis. Yep, here I show off the entire route that I will be taking. First, I navigate towards this point, then through the entirety of Natlan, like the remaining Natlan, to this point. And this is actually not the real route, this is the planned route that I didn't end up taking because, well, there was a bunch of stuff blocking the way, and I just couldn't make it. Yeah, you know, I was very, very ambitious about it. But in the end, it just didn't end up working, yeah, as you'll see later on. Here, I actually remember to take the food and use it. And this is actually another moment why I specified that I will not be considering Night Soul aligned characters to be valid for this run. Because as you can see, we are like leaving Tonatiuh slowly, and the Auroran Night Soul transmission just stops working suddenly. Yep, and the phlogiston bar at the bottom of the screen disappears. This is from my theories, at least, because we leave the bounding box of Tonatiuh and Natlan, and we won't be re-entering it for a while. You'll see on the map exactly for how much of a while soon. I think the next clip is exactly that, because in between these clips, if you're wondering why it cuts a lot, it's because there's just like nothing in between. It's just me spamming the exact same combo I described earlier. And yep, here we reach the first point, and I just I swap over to the next point, and if you look here, we're pretty far into the map at this point. You'll see exactly how far now, but here, look at this. Auroran will be back online, and the phlogiston bar is back as well. Yep, you'll see that I'm actually all the way over here now. Yeah, in the territory of Children of the Echoes. So we left it somewhere around like Ochkonatlan, like the edge of it maybe, and we entered only when entering like basically the capital of Children of the Echoes. Oh, like the territory of the tribe, not capital. That's not exactly the correct term. Yeah, so we'll be able to use it not for too long. Even if you were like using the Night Cell transmission characters, you wouldn't be able to use them for long. Yeah. I just zoomed in, and if you look closer, you'll see another point here. And this is actually my previous attempt that failed. If you remember, I was when I ate the food for the stamina buff, I actually only had one left. That's because this was not my first run. I had, I think, 1 or 2 previous runs, one of which failed 16 minutes in, and you'll see why a bit later. And the other one, I actually don't remember what happened to that one. I think I just, oh yeah, I flew in a different direction. Yep, that's pretty much it with this section. Let's move on. Yep. So here I'm showing off basically that you have to fly all the way from Ochkonatlan to here, and you'll get to use the Night Soul transmission buff for only like a very short time compared to like the entire flight. Pretty much. Yeah, this is also where I realized that my goal might have been a bit too ambitious and switched the position so that it looks... well, yeah, I think there was a cut that I didn't notice. Just give me a second. Yeah, here's the cut. Yeah, if you look here, I actually reached the next point of my adventure. And I realized that if I were to keep going to the point I originally put down, I would actually hit a barrier. Let's explore the area ahead of us later barrier. And I switched points to turn a little bit. And as you can see, I course correct and turn a little bit the other direction. Yep. And here is actually the next point where you see me pause and look and like basically bring attention to the storm, which is actually how my previous run died, the one that was 16 minutes in. My original plan was to fly it somewhere in between like Fontaine and the Chenyu Valley, but I didn't consider that the storm actually extended really, really far up. I hit the invisible wall and fell all the way down to the ground with no ability to continue gliding. Yeah, so that was a big waste of time, but whatever, we ball. Yep, okay, what was the next section exactly? Oh, yep, and here we are all the way in Sumeru. This is where, well, not really, this isn't where I realized, but this is where I realized that if I want to continue flying, I will have to just turn around and seek a lower place to glide to. And see, I pull up the map and place a point for the future so I can see where exactly I made it and turn around because I just couldn't figure out where to go after that. Yep. And then I decided to go just backwards, but then I remembered that this tree, the specific tree, has a hole under it that will lead you underground, and perhaps I will be able to extend my flight even further with this. So yeah, I open the map and place, check out this teleport point, and here's the entrance or the exit, I don't actually remember. Place it there for whatever reason and navigate it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Yep. And this is the very end of the run, where I just like try to figure out where to go. I realized that I won't be able to make it there and won't be able to make it here either, so I just tried to sort of like save it at the last moment, but there's not really much to be done here. Yeah, so I just tried to maybe go onto the routes and see if there's anything there. You see I turn around because I just realized I won't be able to make it over there. And maybe I could make it over here, but alas, no. There's just nothing there, yeah. I know I could have extended it, but like maybe 10 seconds, maybe 20, but it's not really that much of an increase in distance, so I just gave up. And this is the final destination of this entire flight. Here, I think I'll be showing off the entire the entire flight, the entire route of it. Yep. So, yeah, from that point, all the way back, all the way back, and all the way to Ochkonatlan. Yes. Yep, there, and then there, correct, and then all the way over there. Yes, yes, right. Yes. And this is just like as a way for myself to remember where I ended it off. I strike a pose and am pretty much done with the run. So yeah, now I will be showing off the entire route on the map that instead of like, it's actually pretty funny. This is the map of the entire like flight, the entire glide, because we're not flying, we're gliding. There's the difference, as I already explained in the Night Soul transmission section. Yeah, this is the entire route, and it looks something roughly like this. Not exactly like this, because I think in the desert I tried to avoid the storm a little more, so it might be a little more skewed around, but this is pretty much the entire flight route. And I'll show you something that you will never be able to unsee after this when you look at this picture, because yeah, it's worth seeing. And what I find personally funny about this is that instead of doing the sensible thing and finding a full-sized map of Tevat and drawing on it, I decided it would be wise to take screenshots and stitch them together manually in Photoshop. And I still have the file, and I'll show it off, and exactly the thing that I said you would never be able to see again the same way about this picture. Yep. Okay, let's see the next slide. This is the comparison between the two runs, from Ochkonatlan to Sumeru, and from Ochkonatlan all the way to the top of Notcry. Let's see it in Photoshop. Comparisons. So, if we look at it a little bit, here it is pretty much up, 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 and up. And if we look here, this is the rough route of the non-recorded version. And you see here that I reached the border, decided to turn, then reached another border, and just actually at this point I still had some height left, but there was just like not really much place, not really anywhere I could go from there, so I decided to just end the run. I had like a considerable amount of height left, so I could have probably flown like about here to Wave Chaser Plain, but really not that much further, so I just decided to gear up for a full run and just do that instead. So if you're wondering exactly how these two paths are in relation to each other, I will show you, because and let's place it at the exact same point there. So they look similar in distance, but they're actually about 15, maybe 20% different if you like roll them out entirely. And this is mostly because the route to Sumeru wasn't straight at all. As you can see, it's like 4 segments. Three major segments and one minor segment. And this one is like 2 major segments and 2 minor segments, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. If you like this video, like, I don't know, do the YouTuber thing or something, and if you want to see a video about flying by any means necessary, please also leave a comment about it. And if you have Mavujka and Chaska and you want that video, or want to see that video too, text me on Genshin and let's figure it out, because I really want to see the limits of flying in this game. Just aerial travel. Mostly, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. By the way, I forgot to show off, and this is like will be an Easter egg for everyone who stayed. So look at this. You see the lines pretty much line up here. They look great. They look good. Whatever. But if you look at this very specific point and press the layer and then hide it. Oh, not this one. Okay. Oh yeah. I have to flash move. Bam. You will see that it's actually about 2 pixels off, or like 1 pixel off. But whenever I try to move it in Photoshop, it just skips over that pixel and just tells me you moved it a pixel. So there's really nothing I can do about it. It's really funny because I strived for perfection and it even looks good, but just not good enough, I guess. Which sucks, but like whatever, who cares? no one's looking that closely at it anyways. Well, I've already said everything I could, so thank you for watching.